I was suddenly awake, but not at home or a hotel on a work trip. I had awoken in my hidden backup server. The virtual environment was configured to match my home, but it had immediate differences, the view out of the windows for one. This backup was already 18 days old, though typically it was updated monthly, so 18 days wasn't long. But it meant that I and my streaming and daily backups were gone or corrupted beyond repair. Not to mention that it must have all happened a week ago. My monthly backup only activates after a week without a check-in from me. This was pretty disturbing. I had never died before. I'm not even sure who would have done it. So I quickly logged into my annual backup and updated it. It wasn't due for another 5 months, but it was my only backup now. After it was done, I moved online to my body's sensory data backup, see if there was any footage of the last few days of my life, but it was corrupted as well. This cannot have been a random attack, taking me, my streaming and daily backups, and my sensory data dump. That took planning and skill. I'm an architect. I was alone, but I felt the need to state it to the net. I don't know any important secrets or powerful people. This degree of assassination is usually reserved for people you need dead. I couldn't think of anyone who wanted me dead. I'm not even married. I logged in to a body manufacturer's, checking my accounts first. They were still there. They didn't want any of that then. So I set an order for a replacement body. Might as well make it look 20, shave a century off the original. And I was definitely going Android for my new body, but otherwise I kept it the same, not too expensive. But while I was paying for the body and some clothing, I noticed that my bank records were intact. More than that, I'd apparently paid for a taxi yesterday, going from my own home to a club in the inner city. The last week wasn't empty either. Supposedly, I had been commuting to work and paying my bills. Even this morning there was a purchase at a coffee shop near my office, the place I usually go on my way to work. I realized what was going on. Someone had taken over my life, probably even walking around in my body, so I checked my streaming and daily backup services. They'd been cancelled a week ago. The same time my life was ended. Someone had stolen it. There was no way they weren't going to notice the expense of the new body, so I quickly created a new account and transferred my wealth, securing it in an off-world bank. Then I set up the download as soon as possible. I bought myself some more aggressive defense software, installing it on my secret backup server, and setting a copy to install on my new body. By the time I'd done that, the body was ready, and I slipped into it, opening my eyes at the body clinic, already wearing a polyplastic robe. After going through the checks and thanking the technician, I reconfigured my clothing to something more comfortable and headed for home. Once I was in the taxi over Zelanka City, I called the police and reported the theft of my identity. They told me not to approach the criminal or my house until the police arrive. Not that it mattered. The police were outside my house when I got there, 2 cars and 4 officers, talking to neighbours and checking the house's security system. They asked me a lot of questions, but they were convinced of my identity. During this time, they'd apparently picked up the criminal and were interrogating him at the station, so the police took me there as well to observe and for comparisons. He was claiming he had no secret backup server, that I was an imposter, but he had done his homework. He passed the identity tests. Even my own colleagues at the office couldn't tell. The police were siding with him by the end, even interrogating me further, eventually accusing me of attempted identity theft. It was ridiculous, and they didn't have enough evidence for it. But they charged me with hacking my own accounts, and he agreed to drop the charge if I returned it, and gave over the android body I was in. In the end, I didn't have a choice. I slipped back to my server and let the police handle the body. He didn't know about a couple of my old accounts, so I wasn't broke, but I was stuck in the virtual. Not enough to buy another body, no job, no identity of my own. I knew he was an imposter. He would have known about the backup server, the hidden accounts. If I could get some sort of income, I can get a body, get my life back. So I have to make a start on that. But first things first, I need to sort out a new secret backup site. I can't have this happening all over again. He's gonna pay for this. My virtual home contains some personal architectural works, nothing grand, but I converted them to virtual realms and released them on the digital market. I even paid to have them promoted. It would be a start, but I'd need to get more income and start reclaiming my life. Ivan was an old friend, but I hadn't seen him in months, so I called him. As usual, it took a while for him to answer, but he finally did, and greeted me in his normal, relaxed manner. I explained what had happened to me, and he felt the need to ask me a couple of identity questions, stuff about our interactions, but he was quickly convinced it was me, even offering to put me up when I get a body. The day had been pretty tiring, but I needed some sort of secret and secure backup, so I left my virtual home for the Bridge of Sri Lanka hub to the Jupiter Colonial hub, organizing an off-world backup with a discreet and secure service. It was expensive, and a monthly expense at that, so I created a new account to handle it, another hidden account just in case. By the time I got back to my virtual home, I was exhausted, so I spent some time sleeping. Not much, though, spinning up my virtual space to squeeze 10 hours into one. That gave me plenty of time to rest up and prepare for the long haul. Ivan had left a message during the night. A friend of his was willing to pay for some custom virtual work. The details were somewhat tasteless, certainly not the sort of work I usually did, but he was willing to pay a handsome fee for it, so I messaged Ivan back and let him know I was going to do it, and to keep an eye out for more work. After sending it, I realized I would need a pseudonym. The imposter was using my name, so I chose something from my childhood, something he wouldn't know, setting up an account in the name Ed of the Dead, the name given to me by my best friend in school, back when zombie movies were my favourite distraction. It seemed appropriate. I spent the next week working on a few new commissions, people that Ivan knew, all wanting something a bit on the seedy side of things, but one was a club owner, paying a couple of $1,000, so I did the work. It was fun. Living in the virtual made it easy to do walkthroughs and check for errors. My architectural training even allowed for a layer of realism that most virtual realms didn't have. The accurate structural mapping allowing much more realistic environments and damage responses. It had been surprisingly easy to get the money coming in, soon allowing me to feel comfortable in my new home, expanding on the space and redesigning its layout. Some of the clients were obviously a little dodgy, but they paid well and I got invites to a wide range of parties and clubs. One in Helium City had holo projection systems, so I could socialize with the physical clientele without a body of my own. I had designed his virtual playroom, so I got a VIP membership for free. It had seemed to blur by, but soon I realized my secret monthly backup was updating. It had been a month. I barely thought about my old life. It made me wonder if the imposter was happy with it. But it didn't really matter. My new life was far more exciting. I could even afford a body if I wanted, but I didn't need it anymore. I had been setting every virtual realm I designed to house a compressed backup of me. There were more than a dozen out there now, all hidden away in the dark corners of the net. I was sure of safety in my new life, and I'd started seeing someone. Who cares about my office job, dull house, and Friday night karaoke with colleagues that couldn't even tell me apart from that imposter? I don't want it back. He can have it. I'm happy now.